Player who gets listed on the free agency list, but vice captain of the club, down the track you'd expect he'd probably leave the club, and we're optimistic that he stays long term. He's been brilliant for us. Talk recognition, he should have been All-Australian in my opinion last year. He just had an outstanding year, but he's very, very important to the club off the field, just as important as he is on it.
You mentioned Cornelia's contract situation. Obviously, he made some strong mismanagement decisions at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Josh Kelly, Cornelia, are you confident of taking in? How do you manage those negotiations and give the listeners an update as to where they're at?
They're confident with both of them. They're both, actually, they're both vice captains of the club. They've both been there and seen, particularly Cornelia, seen the difficult start that the club had. When we were a bunch of kids and getting belted, and probably not too dissimilar when Josh joined. So, I think that it's a very, very tight group. We've got a strong bond amongst a lot of the players, and I'd expect both of them to extend.
There's been a bit of talk that Kelly's was basically really close. I mean, how close is he to extending?
Yeah, I think the speculation on those things, that's the time of year that we're in, and I guess the industry we're in. I think they're both reasonably close. There's no real time limit or pressure from us, but it's just important that Josh is back and fit and playing good footy, and that's been the priority for him.
Dave, just another thing on the list, and you said, in this part of the footy world, when we hear about GWS, a lot of it is about the list. You can hold it together. But just told us that last year there were some players that left the list. Now, from a positive point of view, you've started really well, where over summer we heard a lot about, maybe they've missed their opportunity, they've talk about clothes, they've lost this player, that player. What are some of the things that your club has put in place to ensure that transition, if you like,
First and foremost, Mark, it's just a wonderful place to live. And I think a lot of our players have been there for a long time now, are just settled into the lifestyle. It's a great lifestyle. In many ways, you do get to escape a bit of the bubble that's on in Melbourne or Victoria. So you've got a great city to live in. The prospect of success, or the ability to finish and play well, it's been a key selling point for us for a number of years. But now I think as the players are moving around Sydney and flying homes and meeting girls and doing all the things that we do around the club, I think we've got every reason to be optimistic about this match. And last year really was a consequence of trying to kick the can down the road as long as we could after Kohler was removed. So Kohler's $1.5 million a year and got phased out 3 or 4 years ago. So it created a bit of a player payments pressure that's probably amplified by the fact that it's a talented list, and you've also, I think, now this sort of inflationary offers that come for young players means that there is a challenge there. And I think Wayne Campbell and Jason McCartney did a really good job last year, responsible job in just trying to sort of tidy it up at that point in time, but we're still very ambitious about what our list can achieve.
What do you think the outcome should be of the Academy Review and the Next Generation Academy Review?
I think this will be one where the big clubs get a bit of their own back, Pete, because I think a lot of the lobbying around our concessions or our opportunities through the Academy, I'd still sort of look at as a bit nonsensical. I mean, really, when we started the 2 new clubs, 11% of the competition came from New South Wales and Queensland, so you can't really say you're a national game. And any time we've been listing a New South Wales player, it effectively frees up a Victorian kid for someone else to draft. So, I know the Victorian clubs, and some of them are celebrating when they had Albury removed, which is not the biggest issue in the world because you just go and draft Tim Taranto instead. But the fact is, I think the Next Generation Academies have been a little bit loose in terms of what they've been able to deliver. And, I think I cited that example of Collingwood in the draft last year. They made a lot of noise about Isaac Heaney, but not so much about Isaac Quainer.
Yeah, Chris Johnson's son was part of Essendon's Next Generation Academy, despite Chris Johnson playing in 3 premierships with Brisbane Lions, which seems nonsensical, so it'll be interesting.
Dave, stability off the field. I mean, it seems to me, looking from the outside, a lot of the successful clubs have people in long-term roles. You've been there since inception. Cameron being your coach, your chairman. How important is that a key parameter for the club to keep the key people in stability?
Yeah, I think it is, as long as they're going well. I think, Tony Shepherd's just one of the great business leaders in Australia, so the AFL was fortunate that he wanted to take on the role. We're really pleased with the job Leon's doing. I think you do take a line through a club like Geelong where they've had that stability long term, and I think if you probably Mark Thompson was in a bit of trouble and they held their nerve and he wins a flag. You see the same thing happen with Damien Hardwick. You see the same thing happen with Nathan Bucket and he gets them to the grand final. So, you do need to be patient in this game, and the stability and the leadership is pretty critical, as you say.
How do you convince Jimmy Bartell to become a member of the GWS board, Dave?
I think he's just an outstanding young man, as you guys know, and a lot of people around Geelong know. And you can't have too many successful people in and around your club. When the club started, we had people like Kevin Sheedy, Gubby Allen, Stephen Silvani, Luke Power, Brogan, Collins, that all won premierships, and I think it had a real impact on how we got our culture up and going. But we really don't have any past players that are of note, other than perhaps Israel Folau. But what's going on? We weren't going to look at him, but the opportunity to get Jimmy involved has got a real spread of business interests, and he's got great business acumen. And I think what we benefit, he also does as well. He wanted an opportunity to spread his wings a bit. He spends quite a bit of time in Sydney, and it's handy for us that he's down in Victoria as well. But he's been fantastic so far.
Dave, former Carrigan West Big Dawson Simpson is a dog whisperer. Have you been able to send the dog whisperer chihuahua across to him just to get it on the straight and narrow?
He's an unbelievably popular person, Phil Simpson. I remember when he joined the club, John Selwood have known well for quite some time, sent me a message saying you better get a great human being, and he is. He's very, very popular around the club, and I've been pleased with him too that he's been able to play some good footy. Actually, his injury last year certainly hurt us right late in the season.
Well, there's probably a reason why he's been on a senior list for about 3 decades and only played 41 games, is that he's such a popular teammate within the group and he's good for the environment, particularly a younger environment that we try to establish at GWS.
Yeah, that's right. And I think he does a bit of carpentry with the boys, fixing gates and fences and different things, but he also runs a fitness club for the staff, so he's that sort of person that you can build a footy club around someone like him.
Because he's not in the Geelong either.
No, not really. You're looking pretty healthy. That's why you're on television.
Dave, the recent announcement of the Giants Stadium with my cricket hat on, I believe the Sydney Thunder may have had their nose out of place a little bit with that. Can you just enlighten us with the naming and where that sits at the minute?
Yeah, look, it's a unique opportunity for us. We've had it in the market, as you do with GMHBA Stadium here, but we had some high net worth backers who we talked to about really the brand that could benefit most would be our own. Yep. And so they've funded it. They've funded it at $1.2 million a year, basically. So it's a great